welcome to 23 Minutes with Gyalpo and Dawa. And I'm Dawa. I was born and raised here in Ladakh, and currently I am working as a journalist based in Ladakh. And I like traveling, reading books, and attending social gatherings, and socializing with people and meeting people from different cultures and learning different cultures and story from them.
Yeah, hi guys, I am Gyalpo and I am from Ladakh. I am writer, I write stories, and I'm an entrepreneur also. I run a little bit of businesses also. And yeah, we are here to bring you some story about ourselves and why we are doing this video. Yeah, so
So we should start, right? Like
Yeah.
why we are having this talk shows. So we'll go in the backgrounds of why having these talk shows.
Sure.
So should we start?
Yeah, so folks, we are starting a talk show called 23 Minutes with Gyalpo and Dawa. And we're from Ladakh, and it's basically a platform to discuss books.
Sure.
Yeah, so Dawa and I were book lovers.
Yeah, and then we started this journey. So now it's going to be a journey, right?
Sure.
So because for us, books plays very important role in our life, and we thought the book cultures is not there in Leh Ladakh.
Sure.
So I think this is one great platform to encourage people to read books and also to give them how important reading is.
Yeah. I was talking about the reading habit that I kind of picked up, over the course of time. It came as a revelation for me when my father gifted me a very thick book. Yeah, and I thought, am I really, up to the task of reading such a thick book? But anyhow, I went ahead thinking it's my honor to read such a thick book. It was basically the Discovery of India by Nehru.
Okay.
Yeah, so since then, I took every book, as a challenge at first when I began my reading, and then later on, of course, it caught me up, and I just spilled from non-fiction to fiction and philosophy, and there's lots of for many years that I've been doing it. Yeah, so and one of the reasons that I see reading very important is, for me, it's just like a food. If you don't have food for a day, you would like to, not starve and have your meal on time. So similarly, it happens with me when new ideas are not there anymore in my head, or if I don't get access to them, I gonna get, little,
So how young were you when your father gifted that book?
That was when, I was of around 17 or 18 years age.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Yes. So since then, this journey has, blossomed, or so-called blossomed for me, and now it's almost addiction for me. And this platform where we're discussing, books from any genre, any language, from any author.
Any authors.
Yeah.
Despite of any languages we say.
Yes. So that's very exciting for me, and that was my way of exploring world. So people do through traveling. Or I don't know, watching movies or music. Yeah. But for me, exploring this life and world and what is beyond what we see is through books, and some of the books really give me that surprise factor, which is very important for us in our life, to make it very interesting.
Yeah.
After some time, your life becomes very mundane, right? And I pick up one title of a book, and then just the title can actually shock me.
Yeah. That was really surprising when we first met. Then you told me that how are you attracted towards book, and it was the title, right?
Yes.
So that is very intriguing. That is also interesting.
Yeah. So for me, it's all about title before I discover a kind of literature or an author. So, for example, once I discovered, this, you have, Gabriel Marquez from Latin America.
Okay.
So his book, The 100 Years in Solitude, was lying on the floor somewhere in railway station of Delhi.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was like the title caught me. I just started, wondering what would a person write about 100 years of solitude. Solitude is something where you imagine that the character is always alone for 100 years.
Sure.
So that kind of curiosity actually leads me into different types of literature and genres and authors. For example, I got introduced to Gogol, who was a great Russian author who initiated the literature revolution in Russia, early 19th century.
Okay.
So his novel, The Dead Soul.
Yeah, The Dead Soul.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, it's amazing, The Dead Soul, and what could a person write about souls which are dead?
Yeah, that's why it's very paradox, like the title itself. Like,
Yes.
how can a soul be dead?
Yeah, so that's how I'm not bound to particular authors or genres. So I switch from genres to genre, and from fiction to non-fiction, just because of the titles and of course the stories around those books. And it led me to many places which I wonder I could have done otherwise. Yeah, so that's the idea, the main idea for me to do this show. Yeah.
So yeah, for me it's very different. Like when I was young, I wasn't a reading person, right?
Okay,
I wasn't into reading because reading wasn't there in my life. I would rather go like watching a movies.
Sure.
And then any alternative activities. And then later on, when I was doing my bachelor, and especially in my master's, where the time that I have to read plenty of papers, like articles, research papers. At that time, I found like how important reading is as a skills, right? And after master's, so when I finished my master's, and then when I came back here in Ladakh, and then there was a time where I'm free, and then I realized maybe I should utilize that time to reading, right? Because for me, reading is not just like a source of information or knowledge.
Sure, yes.
Because for me, it's a really, like a foundations to learn a language. So it could be in any language, right?
Sure.
So if you want to like excel in that particular language, I think reading is the stepping stones.
Yeah, sure.
So that's how like I came into readings, and then it's very interesting. So for me, it also stimulates my thinking, like my critical thinking, and also it develops my cognitive skills, like to think beyond some things that you never do. So, but then like if we go to the topic, like how I choose book, right? So not like you that I go and title, because I am like more of a non-fiction person.
Sure.
I barely read fiction. Maybe I read fiction when I was like in high schools or in school.
Sure.
So yeah, so what like these days, like I read books which are about productivities. How can you be more like human, or how can you be productive in your life? How can you make your life more meaningful and usefulness? So that's how like I think books are, and also books that gives relevant information about today's issues.
Okay, sure. So I mean, it's a very good match. Somebody who is looking at the current affair and current issues of the world and Ladakh.
Yeah.
And I'm interested into the length and breadth of literature as such.
Sure.
So I would say I graduated from non-fiction to fiction. It's a graduation for me. Yeah. So earlier I was a non-fiction kind of a guy, but then slowly I discovered the relevance of fiction, and so I write also a little bit of fiction.
Sure.
So anyways, so in this talk, we will have 23 minutes of talk show.
Yeah.
Which will release every 23rd of the month.
Yes, every 23rd of the month, and the land is also like 23rd.
Yeah, so that's why it's 23 minutes.
Yeah.
G and D.
Yeah, so don't remember.
Yeah, so you should actually remember that.
Yeah.
And 70% of the discussion would be about the particular book.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in every episode we'll be picking up different books. And so. It could be from any corner of the world.
Any corner of the world, any genre.
Any language.
Yeah,
as far as we can, as far as we can read.
Not like French and German, because we're not Europeans, right?
Yes.
So those kind of books we are going to read. And then the relevance of those books in Ladakh, right?
Yeah,
Like the perspective. That's very important. So if we read a book and then like if we talk about book, then every other person does it
can
in
do
the
that.
world,
Yes,
right?
sure.
So why we are doing this in particular, like in Ladakh, is like so that we can see like different angles, like how this book can applies to the Ladakh.
Yeah. So that's the angle that we are bringing in this, episodes. That whatever book we read, irrespective of like I said, genre or the author or the language, we want to actually see its implication. Can we look at those perspectives and ideas contained in those books from Ladakh? Yeah, so that's very interesting.
Very interesting and very important. It's not there in Ladakh.
Yeah,
so,
and sometimes I think it could be a far call for us to do that because, for example, when we talk about computers and AI, I can hardly connect artificial intelligence with Ladakh.
No,
but anyways, we'll have to do that. That's the challenge we have taken, right?
So we have taken the challenge to make sure that people have to like see beyond their horizons and like beyond Ladakh and what all like existential threats and we are not aware of. So this is very important.
Sure. That's something that we're bringing in these discussions, folks. And we would also discuss the background of the book. Yeah. The kind of stories around the book and around the author.
Around the authors and the contents and like we will do like maybe not a research but maybe a background analysis.
Yes. So I mean, a book is I would say a culmination of a series of events. Yeah. It doesn't matter whether it is fiction or non-fiction, right? And we are interested in looking at the personal story of the author himself, why he wrote, what kind of economic or financial situation was he in, or the social background that he was writing from, and of course, what implications
does it have?
Did it have on the society as such? Yeah. So those are things that we are thinking of discussing on this episode. I hope we stand to our words. Yep.
Yeah, because like we also believe that because Ladakh, even though maybe like many people consider it's exotic, untouched, but then like when it comes to knowledge and like few things, we are still untouched, right?
Yes, sure.
So we are like still limited with the politics, like BJP, Congress, and we don't think beyond those. And tourism. Yeah. So we have to think beyond those walls. So guys, we have to break the walls and then see in a larger perspective.
Yes, right? I mean, so after my, the whole chunk of education and work and everything that I did out of Ladakh, so I'm here after maybe like 20-25 years, and now it's been 3-4 years that I've really stayed back in Ladakh and lived my life, and I can sense the claustrophobia, of not having fresh ideas, in the conversations and narrative of Ladakh as such, right? Yeah. What we talk, what we think, and that's claustrophobia is something which actually is really suffocating for me.
It's very suffocating.
Yeah. So we want to actually connect with all those people who have explored and seen a world out there, and now back in Ladakh, they feel aloof.
They are.
Yeah. I mean, more than physical aloofness, it's mental.
Mental aloofness. Yeah.
So to connect with those people, in future we would like to invite readers, writers,
authors.
Yeah, and anybody from Ladakh.
And talk about things that really matters.
Yes.
Why because not? We really don't do that. We really don't talk about issues that really matters.
That is it, for today's introductory episode of the talk show. Yeah. So we'll be doing the very first episode on a book, and it's a very fantastic book, man. It's crazy. I've been reading it, and for me it was like almost dystopia for some time.
Yeah, for me it's very eye-opening book. Like, this is happening, but no, I won't say no, but many doesn't know, especially in Ladakh, barely knows.
Yeah, and I have had exposure to such ideas, okay? But then I never contextualized that idea in terms of Ladakh. I mean, do you understand?
Yeah.
Now, the things that this book is discussing, if you put that in perspective of Ladakh seems so much vulnerable, don't you think?
Yeah, now
we are like a small kitty pie who is just about.
So that's how we are lacking far behind.
Man, we are such a soft kitty pie, which
it's a high time, right?
Yeah, it's a high time we bring this into the society and discuss all those ideas, right?
Yeah.
So we'll be coming with the video next week. Sometime end of the week. And from then on, we'll have our show every 23rd of the month. That means the second episode would be on 23rd of June.
June, yes. 23rd of June.
Yeah, so see you guys then.
Yeah, and
Thank
stay
you.
tuned.